Welcome back everyone, I'm Pietro Chiovaro and this is a tutorial series where I'm gonna show you how to create these environments in Blender. The cool thing about this project is that it wasn't supposed to be created, but when I started this project, challenging myself for creating something much more similar to the Disney Pixar style, I decided to create a YouTube series. Hope you find it useful and let's get started. The first thing is to import an image or reference of the house that you want to recreate. In this case I'm gonna work on the Andy's house from Toy Story 4, and I will recreate the base model of the building following this reference. I created a cube and I go in edit mode in order to create the rectangular shape of the building. I duplicated the top face of the rectangular model and I subdivided this face in order to create the roof. I pressed the Ctrl R in order to create the central edge, and I slid up this edge in order to create the shape of the roof. Then I duplicated the geometry of the house in order to create the garage, and I extruded out the roof. At this point, I devoted myself to the other objects of the house, like the windows, the door, the blinds. Essentially, the workflow is really simple. You just to create this model starting from a cube or this kind of geometry, and I goes to edit mode, I scale it following the reference, and pressing Ctrl R I create all the gap of the frame, of the windows and this kind of elements. It's a really simple workflow, and yeah, it's a good way to do it. So you just to follow this concept for other elements and it's done. Now, while I'm creating the other elements, I want to talk about something different that usually is not part of tutorials. I want to talk about the idea and conception of a model and the process between the idea of a model and the action of creating a model. The concept is really simple. You have to understand about the object that you have to recreate, like a simple geometry. For example, a cake is just a cylinder or multiple cylinder. A donut is just a torus, or a table is just a plane or a cube that we have to scale. The thing is this: if you understand which is the simple base geometry of an object, then you can create everything. If you have this idea and you are able, and this is something really important, you are able to understand how to subdivide an object in simple geometries, you can create everything. That's something that you can develop with the experience. If you make yours this simple, a really powerful concept, you'll be able to create everything. You became a great modeler. And to develop this concept is really simple. You have just to watch something that interested you, inspired you, and take a minute to think about how you can subdivide in simple geometries the object that we are watching. And in this way you will able to recreate the 3D model, and also you'll be able to keep in mind many details that are part of this object. Now the window is done, and I can create other windows and place it around the house, pressing Shift D in order to duplicate the model that I have created. At this point I devote myself to the central curve window. I added a circle, and once that I deleted half of it, I extruded it out in order to create the frame. Then I created a diagonal wooden bar starting from a plane. Following the previous process that I used for the frame of the window, I will create the frame of the door. It's really simple, just add a plane or cube, subdivide using the controller button, and create the gap of the surface. It's something that I can see, but I can see the reference, and I can understand where is a gap and where there is not a gap. For this stair, I just create 2 cubes and scale it along the side in order to create the rectangular shape. Then with a simple plan we can create the door. The details of the door will be added using a texture. Door of the garage, I used the cube and I scaled it and I extruded it in and out. For the basketboard, I subdivide multiple times a plane and I followed the shape of the reference. Then, using the subdivision surface modifier, I increased the subdivision, smoothing the shape. For the basket, I create a torus geometry, and using the parameters placed in the bottom left side, I fixed the geometry in order to fit the real dimension of a basket. Then I goes in edit mode, I selected the three faces of the torus and I anchored the model to the board of the basket. Now I'm starting to create and assign the material to all the main part of the project. Since this is a really repetitive part and I don't want to bore you, I'm gonna describe the process in really quick and simple steps. It's really simple. You just to import your textures in the shade editor, and you can do it in using the Wrangler add-on that help to import the main part, the main images, the main textures of a PBR material in the shade editor just in few clicks. So you have to select the folder that contains the texture that you want to apply to the mesh. Essentially selecting all the diffuse, the normal, the displacement, the roundness, and all these kind of textures. The Wrangler add-on will apply all this texture in the right place on the PBR material in Blender in relation to the principle-based shader. If you haven't your own material library with the textures and this kind of element necessary for this kind of materials, you can find on pietrocchiovaro.com a list of useful websites that offer the textures for free, even if you have to use it for commercial projects. So check it out, and yeah, I think it's really useful. Now, before to conclude this first part of the series, I would like to talk about the lighting. Lighting is a really important thing in the creation of everything, of movies, of games, and yeah, using the right lights you can create a beautiful scene, a beautiful project, and give emphasis to main parts of the scene. So I would like to do a video related just to light, and I will do it in future. If you're interested to learn more, you can find many articles on 3D World magazine, and you can find it even in pietrocchiovaro.com. In this case, I want to talk about the light of the windows. That's another basic but powerful way to create a great lighting. In this case, I want to talk about the windows of this building, and it's really simple. I mean, you have just to select the face of the window, then goes in edit mode, select the plane, and selecting the plane you have to wrap in this plane using the project from view wrapping process. In this way, if you have a reference like this one, you can place the plane to the exact place of the windows of the reference. Then in the shader editor, you have to connect the reference to link the reference to the emissive shader. And using the strength, you can change the power, emissive power of the window. It's really simple, it's really powerful, but if you haven't a reference, don't worry, since you can use a flat color, like a yellowish color or a shade of yellow, and yeah, it works since it's an emissive shader. The trick of this thing is to use a lamp, an external lamp. Once that you created the material of the windows, this emissive material, you have just to add a lamp, and in this case a point lamp, and place it in front of the windows or the emissive shader, the emissive mesh. That's a really great and simple way to emphasize the lights of a building, of our project, and create a great contrast between shadow and light. Today I've shown you a really simple way, a really simple workflow that you can use with the other type of projects. And even if it's really simple, if it's really basic, you can use it and create many different kind of projects. And yeah, that's the right way to create something. Of course, there are many details that you need to create, that we have to create, and I'll talk more later in the next episode. Yeah, that's a really good first step, and if this is your first project, you can start to understand and to start thinking about a creative way to create something in the 3D universe. In the next part, I'll show you how to create the contacts around the house, so the street, the sidewalk, the little garden placed in front of the house, and so on. In the meanwhile, let me know what you think about this series. If you find it useful, a real pleasure to show you something like that in this channel, even if that's my first YouTube series. I hope you find something new, something to learn. And if you find useful this kind of project, this kind of content, please leave a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And in pietrocchiovaro.com, my website, you can download a new model for free. It's a Christmas tree, and I will use it in my future episode related to this project, to this series. That's all, everybody. I hope you find it useful. Have a nice Christmas and see you soon.